Welcome to the Sour Subwoofer Saga. We're back on the TV project. Here's the screen at the bar. It's on S-Video, and it's got wavy patterns now. That just started happening. I planned that. I don't know where the wavy patterns came from, and I don't know where to start to look, so I'm not going to worry about it for now. We got speakers over on the side. I don't know if you can see any of that. You sure can. These are IBM Aptiva speakers. If you remember, copyright. If you remember the IBM Aptiva back in the day, in the beige color, this came with these speakers. And that particular machine was designed in that the 12 volts on the computer's power supply would drive these speakers. That way IBM didn't have to give you a separate power adapter for it, but you can run it off of any 12 volt adapter. It's password plus. Copyright. So they work, but they're not great. Here is the back of the right speaker, or what is supposed to be the right speaker, but is actually kind of the left. Now, I'm not sure if that's a function of the VGA up converter or not, but for some reason the left and right channels are reversed in this setup with the speakers. If you do the Windows test, it plays out of the right side first and then the left, which is not correct, which is telling me that it's wired backwards, making this the left speaker and the other one the right speaker. And while it's just as easy to just swap them around, I'm not going to do that because I've had this one on this side for so long, I probably forgot about the fact that it's backwards. It does say over here with the blue, it says left. So that's fine. Here's the input in purple. There's also a pink connection. You can't really see it from there. Maybe you can if I unplug that. It says sub. Was that an option? I don't know. I've never seen one. What about one of my own? IBM missed a branding opportunity because they could have definitely put the IBM logo on there, but instead they just put it on that speaker. Obviously IBM didn't make these speakers. Who made it for them? I don't know. I'm not worried about getting into that. Let's look at subwoofers. Are you a Boston or a Boston? Because I'll tell you something, if you're a Boston, you're stupid. Because you don't go to your boss and tell him you quit. You go to your boss and tell him to quit. I know it's B-O-S and not B-O-S-S. You toss a ball, not toss. Stupid. Alright, anyway, we got two subwoofers here. What's the difference? This is actually part of a set. I have the satellite speakers that go with this, but it always sounded funky. Something wrong with it. This one, I have no idea where it came from. It's a lot bigger. That doesn't mean that it's much different. Connections. Look at that. Power, power. Green light, green light. RCA, RCA, purple input, purple input, knob, knob. I don't know the specs on it at all, if it says how many watts. This says made in Malaysia for Boston Acoustics Incorporated. Boston Acoustics has been bought out by some other big conglomerate, can't remember which. This one here says Boston Acoustics Incorporated, Boston Micromedia System, Peabody, Massachusetts. And the back has a label, which has a part number, serial number, blah, 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 made in Malaysia for Boston Acoustics Incorporated, with MagnaGuard magnetic shielding. Okay. Date 750. Date 750. I don't know what that means. From my recollection, this was a spare. Where I got it from, I don't know. So I said, okay, good. One day I can use that. And this one was part of that set that never really sounded that good. I don't know if it was the amplifier board in here or the power supply or what, but something other interesting to note, 12 volts in, AC DC, and that also says 12 volts in, AC DC. When I hook these up and I play sound through them, and you crank it up to somewhat, the bass starts pumping, and it doesn't sound bad really from either one. When you crank it up more, that's when the problems start. First of all, the green light, you know, it really kills. So over here, I have the actual Boston Acoustics power adapter to go with it. It says Class 2 power supply, input 120 volts, 60 hertz, 23 volt amps, output 12 volts AC, 1500 milliamps. So they're feeding it AC instead of DC, but it says it can take DC, which is interesting. Okay, that's great. Now, why do they sound like crap? Well, I don't know. I think the woofers in them are bad. And I actually did this already, but we're going to do it again. We're going to take them apart. This one I got part of the way apart, and part of the foam surround of the speaker was floating around in the cabinet. That is not good. This one, no such luck with that. It looked perfectly intact, but just sounds shitty. So let's take a look inside first. Now, I know where this is already going, and I'm not sure what I want to do. This is not a really high quality thing. I will tell you this is from 1998, probably a similar vintage there. So this is 25 years old. Not really a surprise the speaker's surround is crapped out after all these years, but still, it kind of sucks. I'm sure they weren't bad, and they were fairly pricey when they were new. Anyway, let's crack the little guy open. So it was simply the 4 screws in the corners, and it comes open. You have your circuit board, which I guess is an amplifier as well, because that takes the line out from the computer and amplifies it to send into this and power this speaker, as well as the satellites that hook up with the RCA plugs on them. So that's all fine and good. And there's the speaker, 15 November 1998. Doesn't really say much else there. Speaker. Foam surround is in fine shape. It's not torn. It hasn't separated. It just sounds vibraty. I don't know how to explain it. 4.5 inch from here to here. I believe that's how it's measured, but I'm not positive. Don't know what to do, because I can probably source a replacement speaker for around $20, 25. Somewhere in there. But a brand new 2.1 set from China with a no-name brand, including a subwoofer, which is probably not much more advanced than this, is about 30 bucks. So do I leave well enough alone, or stick with what I got and keep it not turned up a lot? Let's see how it sounds. Before we listen to it, here is the other one with the bigger enclosure opened up, and it does not come apart any more than that. I don't know why. It's strange. But you'll see that there's not much more to it except for a bigger enclosure. Here is the speaker surround. There's a few pieces of it, and that obviously has rotted away. So that is no good, for sure. And it's too bad, because the funny thing is, the other one sounded bad for a long time. This one, not really. There's the speaker. I don't know how much of that you can really see, because... oh, maybe in there. Yeah. It looks to be the same size as the other subwoofer, except for the fact that it's in a larger enclosure. Were they fucking around with us then? Yeah, they were. I know it was 1998, or at least the other one said so. I don't know what this one reads, because I can't get the cover open anymore. It's odd. There's a wire that's making it not be able to open anymore. That's what's holding it up. And that goes into a bottom part of this. And, I mean, I could yank on it and rip wires out. I undid all the screws for the amplifier board and stuff like that. It's just not having it. So, whatever. Yeah, I think they were fucking around with us. Now, would this sound more full because of the larger enclosure? Definitely, I think so. Bigger is better. And not just from the big, fat, dumb American consumer standpoint, from an actual acoustical standpoint, yes, bigger is better. Even though it's the same size speaker, the enclosure helps that sound be projected, and this should have a fuller sound than the other one. But it's simply not really an option now. So here is a sound test of just these IBM Aptiva speakers. And I know they're not great stuff. They do have bass and treble controls. Treble's all the way up. Bass, well, let's turn the volume up a bit. They're not terrible for right here. They sound okay. You know, they're not for TV, they're fine. But sometimes music, you know, not horrible. Crank the bass though. They get a little muddy. Turn that back down, and turn that back down. Now I'm going to hook up the subwoofer. Okay, here it is. Power is applied. This cable is attached to the back of it, and now all I have to do is plug it into the subwoofer port. Volume control on the sub is all the way down. I don't know if that helps any, if you can hear it on camera. Depends on your speakers. Let's crank it up. No good. No good. But turn down right to there. Just enough that it's not horrible. Now watch what happens if I kill it. Big difference. So I think if I keep it down, I think if I keep it down, then we're going to be all set, and that'll be fine. So now, unfortunately, I got to put the TV back on, but you're not going to be able to see it too much, which is good. So that might work. So if we switch to that with the VGA up converter.
Okay, here we go. Karis and Carol begin.
Super password is on.
Look on your little television sets, and there it is. And Karis, please.
Makes no real difference with the sub or not.
Augie?
Okay, Carol?
A little more, but if I shut off these, can you hear that? That's the sound that is still hitting the sub. I don't know what happens if I turn it up. Oh yeah. That's the kind of thing when you're in a hotel room and some people are getting it on in the next room, and you put your wine glass on the wall and try to listen in, and that's all you get is and then you find out later she's got a ball gag on, and it's, yeah. Anyway, this is the problem now, okay? Because it's got a green clean light, and I like that kind. Okay, so that's all good. And the speaker here has got its own green clean light. Hopefully you can see it. Oh yeah.
Haze and...
So my plan is that I'll look to see what I can get a speaker for and replace that actual driver in there. But it almost looks like it's not worth doing. Because the cheap China sets, you know, you could do that. Or I could do a little mismatch inside. Won't talk about that at all, bozos. So I think I'm going to leave this like that. But here's the problem I have is you still hear the sub. So there's two solutions to it. One is, here's the VGA up converter, by the way. I don't know if I ever really showed it, at least with enough light. That's the brand, AV Tool, I think. AVT-3331. I don't know if that was supposed to be a speaker or just a vent. And you have plus and minus buttons, and a menu, and an input, and a power button. And the menu allows you to do brightness, contrast, color, and tint, which is kind of what you expect. Yeah. So I have yet another solution to this problem. Because these two speakers, the sub and the satellite, if you will, require different power supplies. They're actually both 12 volts, so if I had a powerful enough one, I could theoretically drive it like that. The other thing I could do is just, I gotta press one more time, and get it out of TV mode and just in the computer mode, and because the computer is not outputting any audio at this moment, all you hear is the sound of the computer, and if that's off, you won't hear anything. And I can leave it there, because this doesn't have a power switch. The other option I have came just today from China. A 3-outlet surge protector. So I think what I'm going to do is plug this in and then get the transformer that it has to drive these speakers, which, like I said, did not come with it, and then there, because these speakers need DC, this takes AC or DC, and Boston was nice enough to include an AC power supply. So I'm kind of fucked both ways coming and going, which is really a nice thing all around. But this would help because it has its own power switch right there, and that way I don't have to bother turning speakers on and off. I can just hit that and the speakers turn on, and turn off, or I can just leave it and leave the subwoofer powered all the time and leave it on PC mode until I want to watch TV. Yeah, I think that option is a lot easier. Save that power strip for something else and just leave it like that and do that. And just remember that if you hear from over here, it's because it's tuned to what the, and that way and stuff. There it is. Yeah. Okay. So while we're on the subject, only because we're here, I finally put the IBM PC convertible clock back up over here after its extended downtime due to the big monitor here failing, the old one. You can see to the left of it is the Sound Gear multicolored clock. There's a link in the prescription to that. Really, I think one of the first videos I ever had was on this and how the power supply died, if I'm not mistaken. But I finally got it resurrected. It is resuming from suspension. And there you go. I got my clock back. I love that kind. That is just awesome. I don't know if shutting that would help any. Yeah, maybe a little bit, yeah. I have the brightness not all the way up. No, it is all the way up. Yeah, and it's dirty. But that's really all you get, especially after this many years. The camera makes it appear actually a bit nicer than it was. It's here as a conversation piece. I don't leave it turned on all the time using 9,000 watts of power. You fucking morons who think that because your refrigerator is so big, it must use gobs of electricity, and that's not true. And just like this computer is old, doesn't mean that it uses tons of electricity either, and I've proven that time and time again. But anyway, that's back. So I think what we're going to do is put this Boston subwoofer here and just kind of shoehorn it in and leave it. I think I'm going to put it right back in there on top of the computer and call it good. And we're just going to leave it. I'll leave it facing the wall so I can access the knob on the back. Plus you get to see another green clean light, so ain't nothing wrong with that. And then we'll call this subwoofer project done. But then it got me thinking. First of all, I rebuilt the wood. It's called Pledge or something like it. I cleaned this up with, I actually used leading national brand products because I had them. I used Murphy's oil soap as a cleaner and got all the dust and crap and stuff from years and years off of that. And then I used Pledge because I happen to have it from years ago and used that, and that shined it up and let it soak into the wood, and it looks richer and darker, and it looks succulent. It looks moisturized. Things like that. And I also took the time, the right side up there, there was like a paint mark. Rubbed that really, really good with my thumbnail and a cloth, and worked at it, and I actually got it off. There were a number of other spots in that, and a whole bunch of other stuff on the doors. Bottom of the left door. Oops, what's that? Okay, we're talking in a second. So I got all that crap off, and the cabinet looks fantabulous. I also took the liberty of sanding the bottom of that door just a little bit more because I felt that it needed it. What's this? My sister gave that to me. I think she got it from one of her crackpot friends. I see the wire, I see how it's going in through the door like that, and I know it ain't right. So let's go take a look at this and see what it actually is. Wooden box, carpeted, has a little tweeter and a subwoofer and bass ports. Ooh. And kind of big. I don't know how big, but kind of big. It says Pro Series, 400 watts, max power per pair. Per pair. What is this thing? Is this a white van speaker scam? The side has gunk on it or whatever, and dirt. It's been sitting around forever. I don't know how many years. It's got to be 15 years, 10 years, something. This cable has an interesting story as well. The other end of it has an RCA plug. I'll get it. It's got an RCA plug, which is also a bit knackered. I'll have to unbend that, but that's alright. Okay, that might do. Broke my thumbnail off, so that's fine. It's sort of just shoved in there. This cable with that plug, for absolutely reasons that I don't know and cannot fathom, was sitting over by the basement stereo. Had I a plan for it in the past? I don't know, but it was available. The stereo takes RCA plugs, happens to support 4 speakers through that matrix sound that was supposed to be for records back in the 70s, and you'd have 4 speakers, and it never ended up panning out and that. So that was just handy, so that is now going to be permanent. But who made this thing? This ain't no white van scam. That's RadioShack. It's an Optimus, catalog number 12-1736. Looks like. Input 4 ohms. You could read the rest there. Doesn't say much. So it was made by RadioShack. Did you know that in all of these years, I never once looked at that and read it? I knew that there was a label, but I never looked at it. And now I did. So I think we're going to do the poor man's subwoofer with the inadequate cable going to it and an amplifier that probably doesn't want a 4 ohm speaker. We're going to hook it up. Is it going to be a subwoofer? Well, it's got a crossover built in because of the little tweeter on top, but the tweeter works too, the sub works, and the surround isn't bad. So it's kind of like that other China speaker with the microphones, that Tonor type thing. It's just more sound. I'm not done with the rest here. There's stuff in the way and everywhere and all kinds of crazy cat shit like that. My plan didn't exactly work because that speaker wire, the wire with the RCA plug, was not long enough. But it was nice that, which you can't see right now, I drilled that larger hole because I could just insert that whole RCA plug through there, which was nice, which won't matter when this stereo finally craps out, because I'm also imbalancing it and not having a speaker on the other side, and I don't think tying the right and the left together is a good idea. Yeah, so we're going to get in here, and we're going to start playing that same damn song, because it works on YouTube, so sorry. Blame Neil. Okay, it's playing now. Now I'm going to plug it in. It worked for a second. Let me see what the hell's going on. A guy found out why that cord was there. It ain't no good. It kind of just barely works. Here it is hooked up now. We'll start the song over. I'm going to go in there and kind of wiggle it around. You'll hear it cut in and out. That's with it. Definitely has some more kick. So it adds. I think we'll kind of go with it, you know. I'm gonna have to redo the wiring in that. It also plays the chili peppers, but if I play this too long, my fortune will be faded.
Would gladly trade all of mine tomorrow's away.
So that's the sour subwoofer Saga. Poor man's bullshit. That sounds like crap, but still rocks a bit. And why can't a guy use what he's got, you know? I'll look into the Boston Acoustics speaker. I'm sure it's going to be way too expensive to replace, so we'll just keep it low. And, you know, just do it all on the cheap as far as that goes. This other speaker that I put here, just unplug it. It's not a big deal if you don't want it, you know? It's not really a big deal. Yeah, that's it. So, it dresses up the sound a little bit in both places. Why the hell not? Otherwise, everything is pretty much almost all done. Optical cable that came with that soundbar is not happy. I have to wiggle it to make it work in the back of the soundbar. That shouldn't be. I got a spare. I'll have to replace it. That's a pain in the dick. Thanks, Woe Home. Really appreciate that. That lady, that China lady, was such a pain in the ass with the whole thing. Man, oh man, oh man, oh man. And then the fucking cable that comes with it. I ought to email her and tell her the cable fucking crapped out. Because, you know, after all that shit. And now, would you believe it? My traffic light is crooked. Because I was fucking with everything, so it's not straight anymore. Now that's better. There. Yeah, China was such a pain in the dick about all of that. To get the video out and hold 9 with that fucking soundbar. I like it. I like the lights in it. But I didn't like the experience of that one. Sounds good, so we'll give it that, but yeah, that cable should not be failing brand new. That's all I got for this one. Like I said, we're almost done. Got 2 other videos I could think to make regarding this, so we're winding down. Definitely winding down. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure you click like. Make sure you click subscribe. And take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.